Hey guys, it's been a long time, so I might be a little bit rusty with this demonstration, but I will do my best. So we are making some Zuppa Toscana. The hands are washed, okay, especially at this time with COVID. We all know about hand washing. So a few things that you want to get out before you get started. Remember the mise en place. We want to have garlic, and of course, make sure you have your recipe. So hopefully you've downloaded that or you're using your Chromebook to see the recipe. Okay, we're going to be using half of this onion. Supposed to be with a russet potato. A russet potato is those bakers that has that rough skin. It is better, but I didn't have it. And you know, with grocery shopping, we're trying to limit the amount of time that we go to the grocery store. So I just made do with what I had. So I have some Yukon Golds here. Also, we want a slice of bacon. And then half a pound of Italian sausage, which I have over there by the stove. And then we're gonna use a little bit of heavy cream and then some chicken stock and some kale, which I'll get out of the refrigerator here in a bit. So first things first, we wanna be safe with our cutting. So a good practice to get into with your cutting board is to put a wet cloth under there and then put your cutting board on top. It just makes it really stable. I don't know if you've ever cut and you're noticing that your cutting board is sliding all over the place. That makes things dangerous, so we want to make sure we're safe. And then also, I don't know if you remember at the beginning of the year we talked about knives, and a safe knife is a sharp knife. So if you happen to have a steel at home, you can hone it. What honing does is it just trues the blade, because the blade tends to curve a little bit. So it trues it so it's straight, and that makes it sharper. This is not sharpening it, it is just truing the blade so it is sharper. So this is the safest way to do it. Hold your steel upright like this. We want to hold just at about a 20-degree angle, and we're going to bring it down, and we're going to do it on both sides. Just like a few times, maybe 10, to give it a little bit of a hone and true the blade. Okay, so we're good. So reading the recipe, there's a few things that we have to prep before we get started. We need to dice our onions, so I'm going to show you how to do that. We need to mince up our garlic, and we want to cut up our potatoes. So I'm going to start with the garlic. This is a really big clove of garlic. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna show you a quick and easy way to get that skin off. We're gonna smash it, and then by smashing it, the leaves just all come off. All right. And then I'm gonna take that little piece off that had where it was attached to the bulb, and then we're going to slice this. Okay, when we're using our knife, a couple of ways to hold the knife. We wanna hold, you can hold the blade and put your fingers underneath the handle. And a chef knife is this curved knife, is meant to be used in this rocking motion, okay? Now, that's not the only way you can hold your knife. You could also hold it like this, again, using that rocking motion. And then we talked at the beginning of the year about bear claw. So bear claw is when all the fingers are curled and we're keeping our fingertips out of the way so we're not chopping them off. This is the common practice. If you've never been taught how to hold a knife, I can guarantee you that you will hold it like this, okay? The only thing wrong with this, having your index finger along the blade, and you can even try it out, it kind of puts a lot of strain on your wrist. And if you're a chef and you're chopping all day, your wrist is gonna be really sore from holding it that way. So that's why I'm just showing you how the proper way to hold it. So we're gonna cut this really thinly. We wanna mince it up. And I've got my bear claw. Okay, so once we have that cut up, we want to use something safe to remove the garlic. I like to use our bench scraper. You could use another bread knife to do that, or any type of scraper. Now what we're going to do, we have this all sliced. Now we're just going to do a different technique with the knife. We're going to hold the tip, and we are just going to chop back and forth. And we want to mince this up really nice. And then occasionally you want to sweep it because it kind of sticks. And a sign of really fresh garlic is that it should feel kind of sticky. I'm noticing my hands are feeling kind of like I've got a sticky syrup on it. That's good. That means your garlic is really nice and fresh. Okay. There we go. So that's about where I want to be with the garlic. So I'm just going to scoot this to the side of my cutting board. Now with the potatoes, we want to make sure they're washed. So with the russet and also my Yukon Golds, I'm going to leave the peels on. Okay. And if you have a big russet, you're going to cut that russet in half. I'm not going to do it with these Yukon Golds because they're kind of little, but we're just going to slice these so they're about 1/4 of an inch thick. All right. Again, having my bear claw. Okay, one more. Okay, next step, we want to work on our onion. So I'm going to show you how to dice an onion. This is probably one of the most valuable skills that hopefully you're watching this and you'll take away from. What you want to do with your onion, where you see the root, you want to cut it right down the middle. Okay, we only need half, so I'm only going to worry about the half. Noticing where the root is, I do not want to cut this off. I want to trim off a little bit where the green was on the onion. I'm going to take off that first layer where it kind of has a little bit of dried out leaves to it. The layers are all called leaves. Okay. And so you notice I have my root. Everything is intact. That's why we keep the root, because it holds all the leaves together. Then next step is we want to make little cuts. Now we're going to pretend that we have an imaginary line here. When I'm not going to let the tip of the knife go beyond that, because if I go too far, all the leaves are going to fall apart. Okay, so now I can take this and fan it, and there this looks like a fan. Then I'm going to hold the onion this way, and I'm going to do the same cuts in the other direction. And you can see all the onion is now diced. Okay. All right, and then finally, our last step, I'm just going to separate the potatoes from the onions here because they're going in the pan 2 different times. Last step, I'm going to grab one more cutting. So I have another cutting board. I don't want to have any cross-contamination. As we know, bacon is potentially hazardous food, so we're just keeping it separate. I do have a wet paper towel under here. It does the same thing as a cloth, just makes everything stable. Basically, we just want to I have 1 slice of bacon, and we want to cut it all up, because this is going to go into the pan and basically be flavor and the oil that I need to saute the onion. So it's going to work out really nicely. All right, so let's go ahead and go over to the pan. I'm going to bring this with me. So I've got a big stock pot here for soup. It's a nice heavy one. I'm going to turn it on to a medium high. Okay, you don't need to put any oil in the pan. Bacon is fatty enough. I'm just going to put that in there. Okay, so we're going to cook this until it's really quite crispy. It's just starting here, get a little bit warm. Okay, so take a look at the bacon. It is about ready, so you can see it's starting to crisp up. Now this is another use for your bench scraper, just as a scraper for your ingredients. So we're gonna add the onions in here, and we are gonna saute this. This won't take very long. We just want them, so right now they're really white, okay? We are gonna turn to what we call translucent. That means they're not see-through, but they are definitely turning more clear than white. Okay. You want to continuously stir this. Don't worry if the pan gets a little bit brown on the bottom. It's all going to be washed off when we add in the water. All right, so here. All right, that looks good. Now we're ready for these potatoes. So again, I'm going to use my bench scraper, put them in. And then we're also going to add our chicken stock. So we want 4 cups of water. If you're using chicken stock from a can or a one of those paper boxes, then you're just going to add 4 cups of that. I'm going to use some chicken bouillon. So I'm just going to add the water and then I'm going to add the bouillon. 4 cups of water in there. So this is an example of a chicken bouillon. They come in all different brands. I do like the Nord brand. Sometimes it's powdered. This one is a liquid. This one I got at Cash and Carry. I think that's the only place I found it. So if you look on the back how many teaspoons or tablespoons you need per cup. So this one says 1.5 teaspoons per cup. So I have 4 cups. So that means I need 6 teaspoons. And if you remember, there are 3 teaspoons to a tablespoon. So I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons. All right, so now we're just going to let that simmer away. Next step, we're going to cook the Italian sausage. I have a frying pan here, non-stick. I'm going to get that warmed up. I have some Italian sausage here. Put that in there. And I'm going to break this up. Then we're going to cook this so it looks like when you do a ground beef. It's all broken up here. And you can add in here, if you like a little bit of heat to your soup, you can add in a little bit of red pepper flakes, which I'm going to do. So you can add like 1/4 of a teaspoon to 1/2 of a teaspoon. So I just kind of estimate there is about right. Put that in there. That's going to give you a little bit of a kick to your soup. All right, so I'm just kind of doing both things right now. I'm getting the sausage cooked and also simmering my potatoes. So I want to simmer. So right now you can see in my pot, this is not a simmer, this is a boil. So simmer is with a little bit of bubbles, so I'm going to turn it down. I'm going to give it just a little bit of a stir. So the goal here is that we want these potatoes to cook. Okay, so this shouldn't take too long. This will take about 10 minutes. Okay, so the sausage is done. Now, we haven't added in the garlic. We're just actually going to add in the garlic with the sausage. I turned it down, and I just want to cook the sausage or cook the garlic until I get that really nice garlic smell. Garlic burns really easily, so make sure you've got this turned down at this point. And we just want that aroma of garlic just to enter our nose. And then we can turn everything off, okay? Now, depending on your sausage, you can notice I have little to no grease left in the pan. I did not drain this. Some sausage I find is more fatty than others, so depending on the type of Italian sausage you got, you might have to drain the fat. Drain the fat before you add in the garlic. I still have my potatoes cooking. They're not quite ready, but we're gonna deal with the kale. Now, we make smoothies at our house and we use a lot of kale. So I bought this really big bag of kale at Cash and Carry again. Now you might have the full kale, which is perfectly fine. Even if you don't have kale, you know what you can use? You can use something like spinach or any kind of a hearty green. So we want roughly about a cup. So we're just gonna guess here, cup of kale. Now, when you buy kale, now this one it says on here, stems removed. So you'll notice in kale, it has a really thick stem. If you're buying the big, just the kale from the grocery store, you want to physically remove those stems. It's going to make it way too chewy, okay? So this one claims that they did it already, but I'm still seeing a few stems in there. So I am just going to check it out. So this one was a stem just right in there. So we're just going to go ahead and check. You don't want to be chewing on it too long. Those are really fibrous. All right, that looks good. Okay, so how to test if your potatoes are done, just simply use a fork. and it should pierce through there really nice and easy, which it did. So now we're ready to put all the soup together and then we can eat. So we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna just turn this down to simmer, put in our sausage and the garlic. We're gonna go ahead and put in our kale and stir that around. Now we want to just stir it until all the kale is nice and wilted in there. And then we finish it off. Now at this point I'm going to turn it off. We finish it off with the heavy cream. Just a half a cup of heavy cream. I'm going to give this a stir. And then before serving, a good chef always tastes. So let's go ahead and get a spoon. Give it a taste. So good. I hope you enjoy this. Let me know how yours turned out. Good seeing you.